This is the first time in American history that a constitutional right has been taken away.
We sat down with some of the black women of Columbus, what they are doing as the country deals with the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Plus, the housing crisis does not seem to be slowing down. City leaders plan to bring more affordable housing to Columbus. And breaking down the big budget, how your tax dollars could be used this year. Thanks for joining us on Face the State, and happy 4th of July weekend, everyone. I'm Clay Gordon. Tracy Townsend has the day off. It's been just over a week since states gained full responsibility in deciding abortion rights laws, and tensions still remain high. Well, this morning, we sit down with two Columbus organizations for a better picture of who is most impacted from the Supreme Court decision. But first, prosecutors from across the country say they will not be prosecuting abortions. The Columbus City Attorney also joined in to send a similar message. That led us to ask who will be tasked with enforcing the law and how. Well, so far, we know local law enforcement is making plans to investigate these cases. Now that abortions are mostly illegal after 6 weeks of pregnancy, it would be considered a fifth-degree felony. Well, here's what Brian Steele with the local FOP had to say, in part, quote, "As in all felony criminal cases, law enforcement officers investigate, charge if probable cause exists, and turn over the case to the Franklin County Prosecutor's Office. I imagine many law enforcement agencies in the state are reviewing new law with their legal departments for guidance." We did reach out to the Franklin County Prosecutor's Office, and we were told Gary Tyack had no comment on this. We also talked again to Zach Klein. He said while his office does not prosecute felonies, he still wanted to take his own stance known and make it known because of any future changes to this law.
I don't see my role as a city attorney to be in the doctor's office between a patient and a doctor. That's personal and frankly none of my business. When you look at the future of post-Roe world, we don't know what the legislature is going to do. And in fact, some legislation that has been presented in the past does have misdemeanor conduct.
10 TV also reached out directly to Columbus Police and the Franklin County Sheriff's Office for more information about enforcement. We are still waiting to hear back. But we do know Columbus Mayor Andrew Ginther says abortion-related cases will be, quote, the lowest possible priority, end quote, from the mayor. Take a look at your screen right now. 10 TV spoke with these two women. Christy Angel and is the president of the YWCA Columbus, and Maureen Stapleton, the executive director of Celebrate One. Both local leaders say our community should be focused on next steps when it comes to the historic Supreme Court decision.
Choice for us is this, Destiny. It's not about, pro-abortion or being against abortion. Choice is about an individual's right to make the choices they need to make, the individual needs to make for their life, their body, their circumstance. And we believe that people should have choice. That's the foundation of our organization. Choice in where they live, choice in where they work, choice in who they love, their choices. And so obviously this decision, while we knew that we had the leaked document and we knew that this was a decision that was probably coming down from the courts, it still, I think rocked all of us, shocked all of us. We had a lot of emotion on Friday. Emotion turns in some ways to anger because of feelings that a right that we felt that we had for so long, now we've been told we do not have that right. And at the same time, we are an organization that moves from, the shock and awe and all that. We have to now we have to have a bias towards action.
It is incumbent on all of us to find as many creative ways as we possibly can to impact this, because abortions don't go away. 17% of the states of abortions happen in Franklin County. Again, when you look at the urban cores and those counties, it's the majority. But at the end of the day, all 3,400 babies aren't just going to be birthed. People are going to make some decisions. And we have literally rolled back to a time when people did things to their bodies versus having the appropriate care. That is what is so disarming and unsettling about the court decision. This is the first time in American history that a constitutional right has been taken away. That's what the Constitution does. It gives rights, doesn't take it away. And so abortions aren't going to stop. Safe and healthy abortions are going to stop. The majority of the women who choose to make this choice, and it's a tough choice to make, right, are 20 to 29 years of age. They're not under 19. They're not young people. Actually, and the next largest group is 20 or 30 to 39. So between 20 and 39, and these are the same people for the last 20 years who have not had proper education on the appropriate sexual health education that most kids get across this country. That's a decision that is a policy decision that has impacted our outcomes.
Stapleton says Ohio is the only state in the country that does not have a health education policy. This means federal grants cannot be used to pay for sex education in K-12 schools. According to the Children's Defense Fund of Ohio, it's the only subject area without standards in Ohio. Both the YWCA and Celebrate One offer family planning resources. These are just some of the resources people in our community have access to. You can call the number on your screen to be connected with those experts, or just head to ywcacolumbus.org. We spoke with leaders on both sides of the aisle about resources their groups offer to people impacted by this ruling.
If you are looking for ultrasounds or pregnancy tests, make sure that the facility that you go to is a licensed medical provider, such as a Planned Parenthood or another licensed family planning, a federally qualified health center, a county health department, someplace that is regulated and licensed and bound by HIPAA regulations. That is critically important at this time. Reach out to Women Have Options. Reach out to an abortion clinic. Someone should be able to direct you to resources to help you get the care that you need.
The pro-life movement has a proud 50-year history of helping women in need on the ground in all 88 counties in Ohio. We have over 150 pregnancy centers in Ohio. We provide diapers, formula, prenatal care, car seats, cribs, clothing, parenting classes, not just to mom, but the birth father as well. We've done that not just recently, but we've done it for decades in the state of Ohio. Ohio Right to Life, we're an advocacy organization. Every year we advocate for millions of dollars to go to help women, whether it be for their health care or prenatal care. We are the only social conservative organization in Ohio that stood up and said we needed Medicaid expansion back in 2011 when Governor John Kasich advocated for it. We stood up and we said, yes, it's the right thing to do. All people, including women who are low income or severe poverty, should have just the same access to health care as I do or you do.
And here's how to take advantage of both groups' resources. Pro-Choice Ohio and Right to Life Ohio say people looking for family planning resources can go to the websites you see right here on your screen. The overturning of Roe v. Wade has some people rethinking their family planning options. We're talking about birth control. You might remember Justice Clarence Thomas suggested the court could rethink past decisions, including a case regarding contraceptives. 10 TV spoke with medical professionals as the demand for all forms of birth control increases.
I think it's necessary for people to take it seriously. And it scares me because this feels like not, the America that I grew up with. It's totally different.
Still legal. You can still get contraception. You can still get the long-acting reversible contraceptives. You can still get a what used to be called a tubal ligation.
The medical professionals encourage patients to remain calm right now when it comes to obtaining contraception in the state. The goal is to not overwhelm the system. But the doctors do say do not wait to talk with your healthcare provider. Meanwhile, the reversal of Roe v. Wade has churches in our area talking. 10 TV's Ashley Bornanson caught up with pastors who say they are just trying to navigate mixed emotions right now in their congregations.
I'm very disturbed and concerned when I hear that the right of a person to be able to do it, even to make that choice, has been taken away, because I see it in the context of other rights which are then put in jeopardy.
Pastor Dexter Wise of Faith Ministries Church in Columbus says he does not believe the reversal of Roe v. Wade was a good idea.
I really don't think that people have thought all the way through what happens when they take this right away. I don't think they've thought through what's going to happen to the exceptions that no longer exist for some people.
He fears the country does not have a system in place to support women and children.
What are we going to do in terms of funding? What are we going to do in terms of education? What are we going to do instead of creating more prisons and create more daycare centers?
But the faith community is torn.
I think this has put all of us in a position where no one can hide anymore. It's not at the Supreme Court we can hide behind. It's at the state level where we all now have to speak and advocate for what we believe.
Down the street, Pastor David Forbes of Columbus Christian Center supports the decision to overturn Roe, saying that
the women that I have spoken with as a pastor who have had abortions, out of those women, I cannot think of one who did not feel extreme and grave guilt, shame, and regret.
His church is working to help support the women who have had abortions and minister to those who are considering having one.
I believe it's going to be a challenge of your life either way. And so therefore, the church, this church, a real church, would be present to help you with that decision no matter what.
10 TV's Ashley Bornanson reporting there. She says both pastors told her they've received support from their congregations, though they are on opposite sides of this court's decision. They encourage everyone to show compassion and support for each other as the nation navigates this time. Some Ohioans are worried about the increase of gun violence in Columbus. Ahead, we break down how city leaders plan to keep everyone safe. U.S. Congress members passed a sweeping gun safety bill, which has officially been signed into law. It's the first of its kind in decades. The Safer Communities Act passed with bipartisan support, including from Ohio Senator Rob Portman. It aims to limit access to guns in younger populations, as well as those who have committed acts of domestic violence. But just how will the new legislation impact Central Ohioans? We took that question to City of Columbus Attorney Zach Klein.
There's going to be a problem, frankly, here in Ohio because of some of the prohibitions that exist that the state legislature has put on cities like Columbus and Cincinnati and Cleveland that may want to institute a red flag law. I'm hoping that cooler, more common sense heads will prevail. We'll see the opportunity to get federal funding to get the hands out of dangerous people who have no business owning a firearm.
Meanwhile, there is a new focus on getting guns off the streets of Central Ohio. Right now, police are dealing with record-setting homicide rates and several recent shootings. City leaders are sharing their plan in a plea to state lawmakers. 10 TV's Lacey Crisp takes a closer look at the next steps.
Most of these moms know all too well the impact of gun violence.
I would say about 98% of us have been affected by gun violence.
Which is why they were invited when Columbus City leaders discussed plans to curb gun violence.
Well, I'm very cautiously optimistic, and I think that I love the effort that's being put forth.
So far, Columbus police have recovered 1,500 guns. 10% of those are on these tables. In 2021, 91% of the homicides in Columbus involved guns. Columbus Mayor Andrew Ginther is calling on the state legislature to pass restrictive gun laws.
The State House continues to move in the wrong direction. Stand your ground. Now permitless carry, putting our very officers' lives at risk more than ever before. More guns, less training, fewer permits are precisely what we do not need.
Ginther has allocated $250,000 for city prosecutors to work with the U.S. Attorney's Office to prosecute the most violent gun offenders. City Attorney Zach Klein is also calling on judges to seriously consider bond for those suspects who use guns.
And we need our judges to step up when it comes to violent offenders and people who have no regard for human life. And it's happening too much in our community, and we have to draw the line and put the pressure on the judges to make a difference here.
Columbus Police Chief Elaine Bryant says a partnership with the ATF has also worked to trace guns faster, linking crimes to additional crimes and getting suspects behind bars.
I'm wondering, especially as we've had some high-profile incidents involving teenagers, some homicides even, where those teenagers in particular are getting the guns.
That's a very good question, which is why we're tracking it and why it's so important that we're part of that correlation center.
I definitely think it's going to make a difference. I think just even the awareness behind it. Before my son was murdered, I wouldn't have listened to this. I wouldn't have been invested in this because it didn't hit my doorstep. So on our end, we want to make sure, don't let it hit your doorstep before you become invested.
Chief Bryant told 10 TV's Lacey Crist there that there was a long backlog to tracing guns. She says they can now run the tests and get results within just a couple of days, which helps investigators solve cases. Columbus Mayor Andrew Ginther says Columbus is behind other cities when it comes to affordable housing. It's why the mayor is urging voters to approve more spending. Chief investigative reporter Bennett Haberly is asking the tough questions about how his plan will work.
This lot, 1034 West Broad Street, with its razor wire and a violation notice about tall grass and weeds, is expected to be replaced by new affordable housing for seniors.
We believe that housing is at the core. If you do any research, many folks believe housing is the great vaccine.
Mayor Andrew Ginther is touting this multi-million-dollar project as part of a larger public policy push, which starts by asking voters this fall to approve a billion-dollar bond package. $200 million would be dedicated to housing.
But I can't help be struck by the irony that in recent weeks, we've also torn down a homeless camp. So how does that sit with you? The fact that, we're literally kicking people out of places who don't have homes and then borrowing millions of dollars to build homes back up.
Well, and that's why we think this is so important. We believe that everybody that is homeless ought to have housing. And that's why McKinley Manor is so important, and a place that potentially folks that were in that camp or in other camps can come off the land, get the supportive treatment that they need, the services they need to live in a safe, affordable place.
What do you think about that?
I think it's crap because they got one building right down here on Glenwood. They ain't even done yet. And what's the bet going to be on them? $700, $800, $900 a month. People on fixed income cannot afford them.
Casey Strobel is a disabled veteran. He tells me he was evicted while living in a house here in the bottoms of Franklinton. The project proposal for McKinley Manor shows projected rent would range from $437 to $820. The upper range would be too costly for those like Casey.
No matter, you can't stop progress. It's the affordable of it is what counts.
Strobel told me gentrification in this area is making it harder for folks to pay rent. There's also violence to consider. One block over from this proposed housing project, there have been 2 murders in the last 5 years, and more than 24 within a half mile of here, according to a 10 Investigates review of homicide data.
We still have a problem with violence in our city. We still got police who are only able to make 1 out of every 2 arrests on murders.
Our goal and our vision is to become the safest big city in the country. We're not there yet. But we did have the largest reduction in violence from 2017 to 2018 based on the first comprehensive neighborhood safety strategy. We have seen a 40% reduction in homicides and violence from last year to this year. So it's important to tell the whole story.
Rich people don't have no power. Comes to people like me on Social Security, or elderly people, or people that disabled, where we stay at.
Affordable appears to be a subjective term in a debate where everyone agrees housing is necessary and may help address other issues. In Franklinton, Bennett Haberly, 10 TV News.
10 Investigates found campaign finance records show the president of the company that is building McKinley Manor has donated $48,000 to Mayor Ginther's campaign since 2017. The mayor's office says those donations have, quote, no bearing whatsoever on this project, end quote. Well, this morning, doctors are working to learn more about the first case of monkeypox in Columbus. Why doctors say you shouldn't be worried just yet. U.S. Supreme Court leaders officially swore in the first black woman as a justice, Ketanji Brown Jackson. Here's that very moment.
I, Ketanji Brown Jackson, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
That I will support and defend the Constitution.
Jackson takes the place of Justice Stephen Breyer. She's now the 104th Supreme Court Justice to be sworn in. Well, this week, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled a high school football coach in Washington State who prayed in the middle of the field is protected by the First Amendment. More than 2 decades ago, though, a similar case divided a central Ohio community. 10 TV's Kevin Landers talked to the coach whose case pitted community versus religious beliefs.
We prayed in the locker room before the game. I never denied any of that. We prayed with the team afterwards on the field. Parents came out and joined us.
It's been more than 2 decades since David Daubenmire blended religion with coaching at London High School.
I would say, hey, fellas, for me, here's the scripture of the week.
But his passion for the Bible as a public school employee would result in a lawsuit that he said eventually made him walk away from the game.
Shame on me. I took some of these wayward kids to church, invited them to church on my free time and on their free time, right? I'm trying to say I tried to indoctrinate, force religion down the throat, and made kids pray. Oh, these.
Daubenmire's case was settled out of court with no finding against him. More than 2 decades later, he says seeing the U.S. Supreme Court side with a football coach from Bremerton, Washington, and get the victory he didn't get makes him feel proud.
What went through your mind?
I was right. I felt somewhat vindicated.
The ACLU sued the London School District, saying by allowing the coaching staff to lead prayers with players was a violation of the separation of church and state.
And when you are a public school employee, when you are a police officer, when you're a firefighter, when you work for the county sewer district or whatever else, you are government.
The ACLU believes Monday's U.S. Supreme Court ruling could open the door to allow prayer in schools.
Recognize you don't push your religious beliefs on other people, and you especially don't do it on a captive audience that you have control over, as isn't the case with a coach or player or a teacher or a student.
As for Dave Daubenmire, he says he misses coaching, but has no regrets about his religious coaching style.
I never forced the first kid to ever say a prayer.
Kevin Landers, 10 TV News.
Since 1963, the U.S. Supreme Court says public school employees may not engage students in religious activities without violating the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment. Well, this week, Columbus Public Health confirmed the first case of monkeypox in Columbus. Public Health says the case is a 48-year-old man, and he is isolating. Health officials continue to say that the risk to the general public is low.
Based on our initial investigation thus far, we don't believe there are any close contacts, but we're still investigating, and the threat to the general public is very low. But we want people to understand that monkeypox is in the United States and has arrived in Ohio, and now it has arrived in Columbus.
The illness typically lasts 2 to 4 weeks. There are now more than 300 cases reported nationwide, 2 of them in Ohio, including the one the health department is investigating here in Columbus. And just in time for summer, another state park is coming to Ohio. ODNR broke ground on the Great Council State Park earlier this week. Well, this park just north of Xenia will be a connection to Ohio's Native American and pioneer past. The area was once home to Old Town, one of the largest known Shawnee settlements in Ohio.
This is going to be a very, very special place. And it really is going to tell a story that I think we've heard parts of the story. We hope to have as much of the story here as we can.
The park will include an interpretive center featuring exhibits and a gallery honoring Shawnee tribes. 3 recognized tribes are working on the center. It will open up in 2023. I want to say thank you for being here with us today. I'm Clay Gordon in for Tracy Townsend. And remember, if it affects you, your family, and Ohio, we're here to make sure those accountable face the state.